For 23 years, a giant bear has lived inside a couple's home in British Columbia, sleeping by their fireplace, eating at their table, and sharing their evenings. But it is what he does every single night at 8 o'clock that nobody who hears it can quite forget. Emma had always said that Teddy understood her better than most people did. He was a golden retriever, given to her as a puppy by her father on her 32nd birthday, back when she and David had just moved into their farmhouse on the edge of the Canadian wilderness in British Columbia. Her father had driven 4 hours with the puppy tucked inside his coat and handed him over on the front porch without much ceremony. Just smiled and said, "Every house this far from town needs a good dog." Emma had held that warm, squirming bundle of gold fur against her chest, and that was it. 13 years of mornings waking up to him at the foot of the bed. 13 years of him dropping his rope toy at her feet every evening and waiting with that patient, ridiculous optimism that only dogs manage. 13 years of him curling across her lap by the fireplace like he had no idea he was too big for it, and her letting him anyway. When Teddy died in the spring of 2001, Emma did not speak much for several days. David buried him under the big spruce tree at the back of the property, the one Teddy had always gravitated toward on warm afternoons, sleeping in the patch of shade at its base. David built a small wooden marker and pressed it into the soil, and then stood there for a while, not knowing what to say. Emma came out in the evening and sat beside the grave, with her knees pulled to her chest, just sitting, the way you do when there are no words that fit the size of what you have lost. David went back inside to give her some time. He stood at the kitchen window watching her, and that was when he heard it. A sound from the tree line. Faint, high, insistent. He stepped out onto the back porch and listened. It came again, somewhere between a cry and a whimper, the kind of sound that is impossible to ignore once you have heard it. He walked across the yard toward the trees and stopped at the edge of the property where the mown grass gave way to pine needles and root. He looked down. The cub was sitting at the base of a pine tree, staring up at him. Tiny, maybe 3 months old at most, dark brown fur still carrying that infantile softness that disappears quickly in the wild. No mother anywhere. David stood there long enough to be certain, scanning the tree line, listening. Nothing. Whatever had happened to the mother, she was not coming back. The temperature after dark in the British Columbia interior in early spring drops fast and hard, and a cub this small had no business being alone in it. David took off his flannel shirt, wrapped it around the cub, and carried him across the yard. Emma was still sitting by the grave when he walked past her. She looked up and saw the bundle in his arms, and for a long moment said nothing. Then she stood, crossed the yard, and pulled the shirt back to look at the face inside it. The cub looked back at her with dark, uncertain eyes. She carried him inside herself. They named him Teddy before they had even discussed it properly, the name arriving without debate, feeling less like a choice and more like a recognition. The early weeks were hard in the way that caring for any frightened, motherless creature is hard. The cub bit and scratched and rejected the bottle and cried in a way that sounded disturbingly human in the middle of the night. Emma and David took shifts. They sat on the kitchen floor with him for hours, letting him get used to their scent and their voices, speaking quietly, moving slowly, offering food with a patience that outlasted his fear every single time. Within a month, he was sleeping pressed against Emma's side on the couch. Within 6 months, he had grown to the size of a large dog and had claimed the dead Teddy's bed beside the fireplace as his own. Not because anyone put him there. He found it one afternoon, circled it twice the way dogs do, and lay down in it with a long exhale. Emma stood in the doorway watching and did not move him. He had also, somewhere in those early weeks, found the rope toy. He carried it from room to room in his mouth with a casualness that made David laugh and made Emma press her lips together and look at the ceiling for a moment. The evening ritual started without anyone planning it. In those first weeks after bringing Teddy home, Emma still went out to the grave every evening. Just a few minutes, just sitting. She could not explain it and did not try to. One evening, Teddy followed her outside and sat down beside the mound of earth without being asked. He did not dig at it or sniff it with any particular curiosity. He just sat there beside her in the dark, present the way dogs are present, offering nothing except company. Emma looked at him and then looked away, and they stayed there together until the cold sent them back inside. It became a pattern. Emma went, Teddy followed. Then one evening in late summer, Emma was having a better day. She stayed inside after dinner, sitting with her book by the fireplace. Around 8 o'clock, David looked up from the table and realized Teddy was not in the room. He went to the back door and looked out across the yard. Teddy was sitting at the grave alone. David stood at the door and watched him for several minutes. The bear sat completely still in the early dark, the way he always sat when Emma was beside him, unhurried and settled. After a while he stood, walked back across the yard, came through the door, and went directly to Emma's chair. He put his head in her lap and closed his eyes. David never told Emma what he had seen that evening. He did not want to explain it in case explaining it somehow made it smaller than it was. That was 22 years ago. Teddy still goes every evening. Rain, snow, the deep frozen dark of January, the long golden light of July evenings when it stays bright past 9. It does not matter. Around 8 o'clock, Teddy gets up from wherever he is resting, walks to the back door, and waits for someone to open it, crosses the yard to the spruce tree, and sits. He stays for a few minutes. Then he comes back inside and finds Emma and puts his enormous head in her lap. He weighs just over 600 pounds now. He is 7 feet tall when he stands. His head alone is the size of a small television. When he puts it in Emma's lap, she cannot see past him and cannot move her legs. And it does not matter because she was not planning to go anywhere. She sits with her hand resting on the side of his face, and he breathes slowly, and the fireplace goes. And David sits across from them reading. And that is the evening. Neighbors who visit for the first time tend to go very still when Teddy enters the room. David has watched it happen so many times, he finds it quietly funny now. The moment when a visitor's brain catches up to what their eyes are seeing, and their body forgets what it was about to do. Teddy generally ignores this reaction and goes directly to Emma, which does nothing to reduce the visitor's alarm, and everything to confirm that he is exactly what he appears to be. The Canadian Wildlife Authority has visited twice over the years. Both times they arrived expecting something dangerous and left filing paperwork for a bear who leaned against an inspector's leg looking for a scratch behind the ear. Teddy is 23 years old now. Brown bears in the wild rarely make it past 15. The winters are brutal, the food is uncertain, and the threats are constant. But Teddy has never spent a night in the cold, has never gone to bed hungry, and has not had a single reason to be afraid of anything in 2 decades. Emma says she does not know if he understands what that patch of earth under the spruce tree means. She has thought about it for 23 years, and she still does not know. What she knows is that every evening when he comes back inside and crosses the room and finds her, the house feels complete in a way it did not feel for a long time after she lost her dog. Not because Teddy replaced him. Nothing replaces 13 years of a rope toy dropped at your feet, and a dog who was too big for your lap, but tried anyway. But grief has a shape, and sometimes something finds its way into that shape without trying to. And you realize one evening by the fireplace that without quite meaning to, you have been healed.